Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Morning Edge. And we had discussed, as I mentioned, the issue with the euro, and also looking at an observation regarding the euro versus the Swiss franc, and how that may be limiting what the euro can go on and do. So let's go on and move on to the bias chart, and okay, so we had a pretty good run, and we even had the 661, and I thought that'd be it right here. And I was surprised to see it didn't push even further. I think one of the more odd things was also is, and if it didn't happen yesterday, because I was going to add onto my shorts at that time, and didn't make it, and I would have thought it would have made it for sure in the Asian session, although I wasn't in it, but I was surprised to wake up and not see it get there, which is, if it got all the way to 80, I was a bit surprised that we didn't make it all the way here to 687. Let me just move this over. And you can see this 687, which is the bottom of this little zone here. I was, what the heck? They make it up. I was short, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to add at 687 because I think they'll pull back, and then they'll give me an overall better position, and then come back, and they just came up shy. And the surprising thing was, I would have thought in Europe they would have gone. In Asia, if not early Europe, they would have pushed it up here. So you can see it's almost like as if they had a hardcore ceiling above their head, right in, hang on one second. It's almost like they had this ceiling here and they couldn't get it beyond it. Well, we already mentioned about the issue with the euro versus the Swiss franc. So that kind of makes sense. You see what I'm saying? What we were talking about that and saying, well, you know what, that kind of makes sense then, why the euro just couldn't even add on to that. I mean, we got here, we certainly must have knocked some people out of the boat. That should have allowed us to get up to 687 and then pull back, and we just didn't, not even in the Asian session. So let's go on and move back into the 2-hour chart. One of the things about that, I shared that with y'all, the Garmin thing on the euro versus the Swiss franc. Here's the deal on that. He's not a Johnny-come-lately. Yeah, I know a lot of people give Garmin a hard time, and sometimes he's buying oil when it starts heading south, and he's selling oil when it starts heading north. But I tell you what, his overall observations are really very good. So here's the deal on that deal with the Swiss franc. He's not a Johnny-come-lately. I've actually had, if you notice here, I've had this Swiss franc on here for, I don't know, well over a month or so. Maybe actually longer than a month, probably almost 6 weeks. I had this Swiss Euro Swissy on here because of observations he made back then. And I said, he was saying, we're telling our clients they should have this on their, on the radar, or have it on their quotes, whatever like that. So the article that we stressed on this morning, went over a couple of times, kind of makes sense then where how the euro ends up running out of gas up in here. Now, the euro will probably try and make another run, but it's going to look like it might be a little bit limited, which in some ways also provides some explanation why gold continues to remain strong technically, because I would have thought we had a little bit of back and filling. Like now that the bonds are higher, that's supportive of gold as they're now moving higher. But yesterday morning they weren't. I mean, they're having a tough time. It looked like they may just finally, fall down. And gold was still holding up relatively well. So a lot of this euro going into the Swiss franc makes a lot of sense in the sense that it's another supporting factor of gold. So when we look at the euro going out, and what it's done this week. The key thing is in the euro, it tested, it got below and recouped the 568. I was talking to some guys, not yesterday, the day before when we were here, and I was telling them I thought we were going to close around the mid 580s, and we did dip. I don't know where the close was for the day, but it was like around 580 or 589 or something. It's after we got up here into the 610, 611, something like that. And someone saying, "Oh, you know what? The euro is a bunch of junk. It's still going to stay weak." And I said, and I told him, I go, "Look, you got to look at it just from the technical standpoint. From a technical standpoint, I go, we've been talking about this 568 being the bias pivot, and I go, we got to the 568, which we kept thinking it would eventually get to the 568, and I go, it got below it, and it was very bearish the day before. It got below it, and I was talking yesterday, but the day before, with the way it closed, I go, you know, in here, it got very bearish. It got below the 568, and I told them, I go, the only thing that matters is it defended the 568. Now it's back above it. You can't look at it negatively at that point. And of course, we had this run up here, and I didn't think it was going to be this much of a run, but we did. Now we're kind of toying around here, and we'll see how this 661 holds. We're at a Friday. Maybe we can find juice again here in the euro, some juice. This 716, I think, is going to be, even if they can go higher, and we talked about the issues with the Swiss franc, euro Swissy. It's going to work like a freaking ball and chain on this euro probably. But for the sake of, I wouldn't say for the sake of argument, but for looking out towards the next week, we want to focus on the 716. It's a long ways from 716. I don't think we can even make it there. Resistance realistically would probably come in, like I said, that 687 that I was looking at. Maybe they make it to 698. But you can see here, even here, it didn't get to 616. It got to like, what, 15? So maybe they could, if they get a good old little run with the dollar having to do a little bit more backing and filling, maybe we can make that. But I kind of feel like this is all she wrote if it comes up here. But we'll take a look at it on the fib. To the 50%. So the 60% would be 711. So we'll mark that off. To me, that's just going to be right here, that 716. So we're looking out going forward next week. Today, we're trading in a very tight range. And maybe they'll be able to pop some stops above here, but this is the key thing to focus on, is this 716. So we're going to mark that off. And support. We'd have to say for now, support would be right there. Should be 612. Now let's go and move into the cable. And we had 24.21 and 25.63. Wow, boy, the wheels really fell off the caboose on the retail sales. Yeah. Luca says, "Hi, Paul. I missed your Euro-Swiss debate. The Euro-Swiss at levels where the S&P intervened before, but now looking like mission impossible. Another small case of a meltdown possible? I remember when they let go of the 120 floor." Yeah, Gartman was making an observation, which he's made for a while, almost 2 months, to keep an eye on the Euro-Swiss, and that the idea that And I mean, we're not going to go over it all over again because we actually went over it twice so that it would stick in people's minds. And my point was, I was telling people is that, I always tell them, hey, you can't focus on stories like the Chinese are selling bonds and the U.S. is going to have to reduce their balance sheet, blah blah blah. You're just trading level to level. But this observation he's made, and it's kind of proving to coming to fruition. It's something you want to keep in the back of your mind for going forward. And it makes sense as to why the euro was limited, because I thought we would have at least seen 687 in the Asian session. So his point was, like I said, you see where the euro has gained quite a bit versus the dollar, correct? And also, this is the Aussie versus the dollar, but the euro gained very nicely against the Aussie, and the euro had nice gains against the pound. But look at the euro versus the Swiss franc, and just like you were saying, it looks like hell. So the idea is the euro is going to be limited on any upside moves, and that the scared or informed money are moving their money out of European assets whenever they get a bounce in the euro. So that's the deal there. So get back into the pound, and I thought that's an interesting take to look going forward, and kind of explains why gold has continued to remain strong also. So we're looking at, and also you take a look at the yen. Look how the yen stays strong. So there's something you want, like I said, something like that I like to keep in the back of my head. You know what I'm saying? When I say in the back of my head, it's like, maybe you don't see it impacting us. I'll give you an example. We're going back to the euro. Let's say that on Monday, the euro's tracking up here at 10.16. It looks like bullish as all get out. And I'm saying, I'm going to take a short there. I'll take the other side. Because also I have that in the back of my mind. It's like when the weatherman says, that's the way I look at things. The weatherman says, we're looking at the chance for 30% chance of showers on Thursday and 50% chance on Friday. But it's only Monday. So I go, man, my car's really dirty. I'm thinking about going to the car wash. It's Wednesday. Wait a minute. The weatherman already told me that on Friday they're looking at 30% showers and it probably is going to continue to rain through Saturday. Why the heck am I going to wash my car now on Wednesday? That wouldn't make any sense. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't impact on that day, but it's something I'm going to keep in the back of my mind with this euro versus the Swissy. So here's the deal. So I was saying, if it got up here, forget about it. I would take the other side. All things being equal, obviously if something would happen over the weekend, we'll see how things go. So looking back at the cable, 24.21, 25.63. And the wheels did fall off the caboose on those weak retail sales. So to me, I think it's going to be with a bit of a bearish tilt going forward now, because now we're starting to lose again. You see here. So for next week, and we're looking out. Yeah, there'll be some support at 23.62, but looking out, I think we're going to probably end up sliding down here next week. I could say, yeah, today supports at 23.62. Well, just keep that in mind. We've seen that zone hit multiple times. But looking out, which we like to do on Fridays, this is where the next key support I think is going to be 23.11. And we'll take a look at it on the fib. So let's make this off here for going into next week. Still a ways off, but we're not worried about today right now because it's a quiet trading. So we want to look, and we're looking out for next week. It's the same way with the euro. I don't think it's going anywhere near 7.16 a day. But looking out for next week, this is what we want to go on and do on Fridays. So we had 23.11. So let's take a look at where we stand on a fib. Well, the 50% comes in here, right here at this 23.47. And 22.62 is a 61%. So we'll mark them both off. So 23.47 is a 50%. I think this should be like 1986. And 27.05. And 22.62 is a 61%. I think they're going to be heading lower next week. But it doesn't mean you turn around and just get short now. The way I'd be trading that then would be on rallies. I would expect it to have a hard time making gains. So there you could turn around. It doesn't mean step in and just short the heck out of it right now. Bet the farm. Just know that at least the way I'm looking at it, and the news is starting to get more bearish, is that any upside, like it's going to be capped probably with this 2501. Matter of fact, we'll mark the 2501 as resistance. So let's move on down, and we're going to move into the Aussie dollar. And you can see we basically just caught the top right there. That's at 77.31. We had that marked out for some time. It looked like it would just keep on going higher. And it's kind of interesting that it's starting to pay back despite gold maintained its strength. So it looks like the gold is, like I said, we're getting that safe haven moving. And we're talking about how that's limiting the euro because when we reference the story versus the euro Swissy. So for today, we're going to have to mark this 77.10 for right now as resistance. It looks like this is going to have to correct, because we had that 77.79 in case we, decide to blow doors. Because remember, we've been having the 77.31, but it's really starting to tire now. So it looks like we will have to come back in for a respite. Let's take a look at a fib too. Isn't really a good where you can say, oh, well, it stopped there. So I guess we'll have to go with this, and then that would be a pretty big, sizable correction if it did. Hold on. $75.96 would be the 23%. That makes sense because it would take out these lows here. So 25.96 being the 23%. 71.60, 76, 77.31 here. Okay, so well, I think we're going to go in on the 75.96. But if you're looking for today, this support here, 76.50, looks pretty good. If you're already short and you're looking, well, where's a good area to cover a little bit? That would be an area. But we were saying we're focusing on next week. So on this focus for next week, let's go with the 75.96. I don't want to be mixing everybody up and saying one moment I'm saying I'm looking towards next week, next minute I'm saying, well, where's your support here for today? So let's stay with that so we're consistent all the way through. Yeah, Joseph says, just curious, what do you think about the potential of a nice long euro rally if Le Pen doesn't do well in French election? I was talking with a guy who said markets have huge underexposure to French equities, and perhaps a turn away from nationalism would rally markets. A strong euro and yen weaken, and probably pound would weaken quite a bit as the UK would have less power in Brexit negotiations. That's what I'm referring to is where you get the whole thing becomes too convoluted. Well, here's the thing on the Le Pen. She's leading, but she's leading in the first round. So they say in the second round, I already saw that against the other guy, I can't remember his name, she's going to lose 60-30. So she's leading, but in the second round she'd lose that. And when you start to look, see these markets I was saying, they trade just day to day. Okay, so if you start to look too much as if this happens and this happens and that happens, you end up getting lost in the whole shuffle. You have to just focus on what the market's doing overall. Now the Euro Swissy story, as I said, is something to keep in the back of your head because it makes sense. Because it's not like if the Euro Swiss eventually breaks, wait a minute, the Euro Swiss is down here. The Euro did have a nice rally off those lows. Look at that. And the euro had a nice rally against the Aussie. And the euro had a nice rally, okay rally against the pound. But look at it against the Swiss franc. She's saying, well, that's just the Swiss National Bank. Who cares about that? Yeah, but another issue that's coming up, and yeah, I'm just trying to point out, thanks, Joseph, for the question. It's an excellent question. Here's another thing we haven't looked at, and I wanted to point that out. Look at the gold. I mean, yeah, I know it's bullish. We've been talking about that, but holy smokes, it just doesn't want to pull back. So this all plays, that's what I'm saying. So instead of saying, hey, if this happens and that happens and this can happen or whatever like that, we're actually seeing stuff where it's actually playing out in front of your eyes. One of the things that was interesting to me is, even though we've been bullish gold, and I kept saying, wait a minute, it's already gone too far, is that even now, like we said before, gold would ignore the bonds. If the bonds were up, gold would say, woohoo, bonds are up, this is great. And then if bonds would go lower, gold would be like, who cares? So here's the deal with the gold. We've had some key areas where the bonds are falling apart, and we just haven't seen nary a dip in gold. We got that one down here, here, but we just reassert ourselves. And then even the pullback on a shorter term basis, look, we get to this 3750. Look how that 3750 worked before. This is what I want you to look at. Look at this test now. Of course, it already broken, but look at this test at 3750. Wham! The wheels fall off the caboose. We rally up to 3750. Yeah, we got above it, but look, we lose it. Wham! The wheels fall off the caboose. Now we get up to 3750, and all we do is take a step back, and we go right above it. We get up to the top of the zone, 4110, and they just pull off a couple of dollars. They rally up here, and they just kind of like, they kind of weaken. Yeah, we dip a little bit lower towards this 3750. Boom, they take off again. Well, here's the deal. From a technical standpoint, you just keep playing the dips here. But holy smokes, I would have expected at least a little dip back down here to the 34. So this whole thing about the euro and the euro Swiss and people moving their money into safe haven, it's happening right now. You're seeing it right here with the gold market, because I'm saying is it doesn't want to go down. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I guess maybe there's a little bit of a story there with that safe haven rally. Okay, so maybe so. I'd like to see some more. Okay, well then take a look here. We know that the yen is a safe haven currency. Look at this bad boy. We've already gone right back here to this zone. So that's what I'm saying is one of the things that helps me when I'm looking, when I'm trading, even if I'm scalping. And that's why sometimes I say it's kind of hard for me to trade if I'm on the webinar, because I short-term trade stuff, I scalp around a lot. So if I get into position, I'm immediately looking at what are the ZBs doing? What's the dollar yen doing? What's the gold market doing? I mean, I'm going back kind of like my eyes are kind of darting back and forth because I'm looking for divergences or, something that's telling me, yeah, I'm doing the right thing at that time. So look at the yen. It's strengthening. You see what I'm saying? Look, the gold, the bonds, they've rallied. So of course that's going to weaken the yen. I get that. But we were already starting to see the yen already fall back. So I'm saying is you're starting to see when we talked about the Euro Swiss thing, you're starting to see other markets being impacted, like the gold holding up really well. The yen, if you can look at different reasons, saying is being impacted by the 30-year bonds, which we always say it's all about the ZBs. But this thing is gaining some traction because the euro rallied further than what I would have thought. It would have stopped. I thought it would have stopped dead in its tracks at 661. We even talked about, I think, 664. I thought, that's it. 664, and this thing is over. It's going to slide back down about 30 pips. Whatever. It kept going higher. But here's an interesting thing happened on the way to the forum, which is, and I'll throw it back because we know on Fridays we focus a lot on tutorial work. So one of the things that surprised me, okay, after the euro goes over here and confounds it confounded me. I mean, in the sense that I thought it was going to stop dead in its tracks at 664. Yeah, it didn't go a whole lot higher, but I thought that was it. I mean, I thought I was playing it like a champ after missing this little here. I'm saying, man, I did so good. I haven't been fooled. I could have shorted it here and shorted it here, but look, I've been so cautious. I've been careful. And so I thought once I got into 664, dude, I'm making 30 pips like nobody's business. And it just kept going higher. The odd thing so you've already probably killed off a lot of people here. But I can't believe they didn't make it up to 687. So that Euro Swiss story is, I'm seeing, okay, you're telling me that, but show me like the Jay-Z song. Show me not show me the money. I'm thinking that's the other thing. But there's, I'm thinking about the other song he has. That isn't the song, but that's from the whatchamacallit, Show Me the Money. But I'm saying is, show me what you got is what he says. So anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, then show me what you got. You know what I mean? And wait a minute, it is pulling back. It's not able to get past 687. The gold market continues to remain strongly firm. The yen is strengthening. So that's what I'm saying is, wait a minute. Maybe there is a little something behind this. So that's what I'm saying is, so let's go and get back into, wow, we're already over our break again. So we'll take our break and we'll catch up. But as I said, we like to do a lot of tutorial work on Fridays. So we'll be right back. Thanks for joining us here on the webinar.